بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
The Jahiliyyah that was there before Islam was something which the Quran refers to as Al-Jahiliyatul Ula, the first Jahiliyyah. And in Hadith we're told that there will be another Jahiliyyah coming about. And what we'd like to do in the course of these lectures is to see what kind of Jahiliyyah was present at the time of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and then to see what's happening in our current times. So at this point I want to introduce you to one trend of thought that was taking place during the time of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, which actually began towards the end of the reign of the third Khalifa, which is called the school of the Murji'ah. The Murji'ah is a very interesting thing if you study Islamic history. What happened was that before this particular way of thinking came about, people used to be kind of pro one person or they were pro another person, right? They were, let's say, pro Imam Ali alayhi salam, or they were pro the first Khalifa or the second Khalifa, etc. But what happened with the incidents that led to the house arrest of the third Khalifa, his home was surrounded by people who were protesting the policies of his government. Now, there were those, of course, who were passionately supporting Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. They were with him, they were on his side. There was those who were passionately supporting Uthman. And there were those who said that, in this incident that's taking place right here, we're not going to take a position. It's a new type of thinking that had crept upon the Muslims at that time. What right do we have to judge between these people who have different positions? There's one incident in history. What happened, they had gone away from the city, they went to perform Hajj, and when they come back to Medina, they officially declare their position. They say that we are going to do irja of this issue. Irja means that we're going to defer and delay any type of judgment. We're going to leave it to God. From our perspective, we have one Muslim here and we have another Muslim here, and who are we to judge? Now, of course, immediately the question comes about that if you have two different Muslims, then isn't it the case that, one of them is righteous and one of them is sinful? One of them is the paragon of virtue and truth and taqwa, and the other one is the paragon of, the third Khalifa was famous for, let's say, corruption and nepotism and all these other things. So can't you judge between them on that basis? So what they said is that, from our perspective, we have no right to question somebody on their actions. What's important is that you declare your faith. The actions come secondary. That's for God to judge. From our perspective, everyone is the same. And that began a new trend in the Muslim Ummah. Soon enough, the Murji'ah trend began to expand. And now, particularly after the Shahada of Amir al-Mu'mineen, what happened is that they took on a more sophisticated stance. And I'm saying this history, brothers and sisters, because it's very important. We're going to look and see how history repeats itself just soon. So what happens now? They said that, we have this position of neutrality, but now that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam has become shaheed, now the ruler of the time is Muawiyah. Now Muawiyah, from our perspective, is a Muslim. The judgment of Muawiyah is to God, and we are people who want peace. Now, if we're going to take a stance against Muawiyah and the leading government, because he's the governor at that time, he's the one who's in charge, then that's going to create conflict. So in order to create peace, we're going to align ourselves with Muawiyah, but we're not going to say anything against Imam Ali alayhi salam as well. That judgment is with God. Now, do you see, brothers and sisters, how things are moving along? This movement that started as a counter movement to taking a stance, now it has become a movement of associating with the corrupt, unjust government of that time in the name of being neutral. And now we come to the time of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. One of the very interesting and useful things for us on these nights, inshallah, will be to see what was it that led people to abandon Imam Husayn alayhi salam? One of the people who falls into this category was somebody named Ahnaf ibn Qais. Ahnaf is somebody that probably we haven't heard of. He's not somebody that usually comes up in the history of Islam. But his example is super important for us to understand the Jahiliyyah at the time of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. Now, Ahnaf, throughout the years, he's a warrior, he supports Islam, but he's one of those people who has a type of issue with the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So we see in the fitna that happened surrounding Uthman and who he's going to support, and Talha and Zubair, Ahnaf is somebody who takes a stance of neutrality. What he does is, on one hand, he gives the bay'ah to Imam Ali alayhi salam. On the other hand, he tells Talha and Zubair, he says that, you are setting up your stronghold in Basra, I'm from Basra. I have given bay'ah to Imam Ali alayhi salam. I don't wish to fight against him. But at the same time, I don't wish to fight against the mother of the believers. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to take a stance where I'm neither against you, nor am I for you. I'm neither against Imam Ali alayhi salam, nor am I for Imam Ali alayhi salam. So what is Ahnaf doing? Ahnaf is taking the creed of the Murji'ah and now he's acting upon it. So at a key time when Imam Ali alayhi salam needs his support in the Battle of Jamal, this warrior, this companion who is influential, he's an eloquent person, he abandons Imam Ali alayhi salam. The same Ahnaf ibn Qais, if you go and study his history, when Imam Ali salam becomes a shaheed, now Muawiyah is the ruler, he makes his way to Muawiyah. And he goes for a private audience. Muawiyah tells him that, wait, aren't you the one who we saw was supporting Imam Ali alayhi salam, at this time and that time? Of course, he knew his history, that he was very wishy-washy. And eventually Muawiyah gives him a good sum of money. And Ahnaf is now somebody who is allied with Muawiyah. And now Ahnaf, of course, we know his history, right? He has this type of approach of neither this nor that. There comes a time when Muawiyah tells him that, Ahnaf, I want you to prove your loyalty to me. I want you to curse Imam Ali alayhi salam. Ahnaf says that, Muawiyah, don't make me do this. Right? I'm your supporter, I've been with you, but this one thing don't make me do. Muawiyah says to him, what if I forced you to do it? What if I told you to go on the mimbar and to curse Imam Ali alayhi salam? What would you do? So Ahnaf is clever. He says that I would go to the mimbar and I would tell the people that you say Ameen after whatever dua I make. And then Ahnaf says that what I would tell them is that, oh Allah, Muawiyah has asked me to curse Imam Ali Islam. One of the two has been unjust towards the other. Oh Allah, whoever is the unjust one, please remove your mercy from him, curse him, and accept my dua. And when Muawiyah hears this, he's impressed with the cleverness of Ahnaf, and he says that, okay, you're free. Brothers and sisters, you see what's happening here, right? There's somebody who, at key points in his life, instead of taking a stance, what he's doing, he's backing off, and he's saying that I'm not going to take a stance. My stance is one of not taking a stance. Now let's fast forward to history, when Ahnaf now is in Basra, and Imam Husayn alayhi salam is now leaving Medina. He writes letters to 5 people in Basra. One of them is Ahnaf ibn Qais. He invites them to join him. He explains the purpose for his mission. The test has now come to Ahnaf. What is Ahnaf going to do? History says that shamefully, Ahnaf did not even respond to the letter of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. We talked about how in the new Jahiliyyah that was there at the time of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, that was based on the Murji'ah ideology, that now people were comfortable taking a position of neutrality. Brothers and sisters, can't we find a parallel of that in our current times? When you have this type of approach to values and morals, which is based on relativism. What does it look like? It looks like this, that, you do what you do. Different strokes for different folks. As long as it's good with you, it's good with you. If it's good for me, it's good for me. God will judge me. There is no concept of absolute relativism. You have to start from some point if you want to build something. You can't build something on nothing. And so those who claim at that time, they said that we're going to take a position where we're not with Imam Ali alayhi salam and we're not with Muawiyah. Actually, they did take a position. You know what that position was? It was a position based on their own nafs. It said that I'm going to do things to serve myself. And sometimes, brothers and sisters, we as parents, we as teachers, we as educators, we as older brothers and sisters, we might be influenced by the society we're in, and we think that we need to water down our Islam in order to make it appealing to the young generation. We need to take Islam and empty it out of its values. Take away hijab, take away iffah, take away modesty, take away amr bil ma'ruf nahy anil munkar, take away ta'abbud, take away all these beautiful concepts of Islam, and empty it out and just make it be a personal religion of being a good person. And that's the way I'm going to have my child accept Islam. That's what will make it attractive. On the contrary, what actually makes Islam beautiful and attractive and appealing is when it takes a stance in this world of relativity. It says that, no, I am going to base myself on absolute morals and values which come from the absolute one. Allah is the haqq, and what comes from Him is the haqq. And there is haqq, there is truth. And that haqq can be found and it can be achieved.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد